Good morning, everyone. My name is Lauren Pate, and I am a member of the St. Mary's class of 2012, and it is the honor of a lifetime to introduce my very best friend, Melissa Christine Byrd. One of my earliest memories of our friendship was when we were paired together for a class project in Ms. Poggi's class in about the second grade. We were news anchors reporting the weather. Melissa's family kindly invited me over to film in her backyard, which to my amazement had a bamboo forest, zip line, and Melissa had a beautiful golden retriever. I was in awe. Forget the project, I wanted to play outside. But Melissa, the most dedicated, focused, and hardworking person I know, even at this young age, kept us on track. Her parents patiently filmed us as we giggled through our lines, wearing oversized blazers and wigs, creating what was surely an A-plus production. From this moment on, we never stopped laughing together or filming moments together. You know, just in case Andy Cohen wants to create a show about us. We laughed through so many St. Mary's memories together as lifers attending St. Mary's for 14 years. Walking through the chapel pews in our Wallaby shoes, rocking double Abercrombie polos with popped collars and brightly colored Vera Bradley bags. We danced at middle school dances to Flo Rida, Little John, and Sierra, took cotillion classes at the Racquet Club, and spent weekends walking laps around the CBHS football field. Yes, we were CBHS girlies, trailblazers, if you will. We took Pittner's driving school together, PSAT camp with Miss Lytle, Bridge Builders, summer volleyball camp with Coach Duncan, danced the wobble in front of the entire chapel, unfortunately slightly offbeat, and of course, Melissa, the hardworking planning professional she is, planned our junior class prom as vice president, with a special appearance from the Memphis Tigers basketball team, I should add. Watching Melissa grow into the powerhouse she is today has been one of the greatest privileges of my life. After St. Mary's, she chose the University of Memphis, where she literally left her stamp on everything she touched and was involved in everything, led every organization, and of course, was the best at it. She became deeply involved with St. Jude. She was an intern there and served as two-time executive director of U of M's fundraising program for St. Jude, setting the record for highest fundraising to date. Under her leadership, the organization won both University of Memphis and St. Jude Program of the Year. Melissa received the Be Like Danny Award, St. Jude's highest honor for character and leadership, along with Student Leader of the Year and Outstanding Emerging Leader, not once, not twice, but 4 times. After college graduation, Melissa and I reunited on the East Coast, with her in New York City, me in Washington, D.C. We alternated visits on buses, trains, and planes to see each other quarterly. We saw Beyonce twice, celebrated birthdays, were escorted to the front of New York City lines because we are those girls, and spent way too much money on our youthful 20s energy, and of course, recorded it all in case Andy Cohen needed the footage. While in New York, Melissa was crushing her full-time role at St. Jude, recruited and retained thousands of fundraisers, managed a large portfolio of events, and was promoted 4 times, all while earning her master's degree in nonprofit management from Columbia University. She balanced school, work, solo trips abroad, friendships, and family with her ever-present dedication, charisma, and fashionable flair. From the Memphis heat to the New York snow, I love watching Melissa shine in every single element. After 8 incredible years at St. Jude, Melissa joined Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, where she now serves as a senior manager. She leads a team of 5 across 11 national markets, raising $40 million annually for rare cancer research. $40 million, y'all. Melissa has always been someone who is passionate about her mission and the mission of the organization she leads, and gives her all to everything she does. I've watched her show tenacity, leadership, thoughtfulness, and passion in every chapter of her life, from giggling weather reporter to leading national million-dollar fundraising efforts and donor management and engagement. If you had told me back in our Moss Hall days that I'd be standing here today introducing my very best friend, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I can't wait to hear what she has to share today. Without further ado, Melissa Byrd.
Thank you, Lauren. She has been trying to sell our reality TV show for a very long time. It's an honor to be here, and thank you, Gigi, for inviting me to speak today and to open Alumni Appreciation Week. I'm Melissa, and I want to tell you all about my first day in the working world. It was a big deal. I had just graduated college a week ago, moved to New York City after being offered my dream job with St. Jude doing fundraising events, but I never dreamt of being somewhere like Manhattan. My new bedroom and my new apartment in my new city was tiny and didn't even have full walls to the ceiling or a real door, classic New York. And my possessions included 2 suitcases and a blow-up mattress. But that morning, my first day of work, I picked out my best dress, packed my bag, and started the 10-block walk to work. The hustle of a Monday morning in Manhattan surrounded me in the form of businessmen and women speed walking, coffee shop lines overflowing, random citizens yelling, classic New York. And I tried my best to keep my head down and fit in. As I crossed the street to enter my work building, though, I took the opportunity to stop and look up. Wow, here we go. Ready or not, bam! Before I could even finish my sentimental moment, I was hit by a speedy delivery man on bike. Classic New York. I was totally fine, but I had made a crucial mistake of stopping in the middle of a city crosswalk and not being aware of my surroundings. Rookie mistake. I got up and thus began my professional career working in New York City. Since that day, I've learned a lot about survival in the concrete jungle, and I've decided to share with you all my survival guide as a St. Mary's girl taking on the world. Patent pending and with a few disclaimers. Classic New York. So let's get started. First, it's important that you understand how I wound up where I did that fateful day walking into work. Memphis was the inspiration and the drawing board for my life. I grew up volunteering for and loving this city so much. And when I was at St. Mary's, I took on planning quite a few events, proms and 5Ks. And I thought maybe I would like a job doing something in the event planning space. At the same time, I was passionate about changing injustices I saw in our city. And my purpose started to form, supporting missions I cared about by putting on fundraising events for them. But I want to be clear, if you had asked me while I was at St. Mary's what I wanted to do for my career, you would have gotten an array of answers. Unfortunately, my grade in AP Chemistry knocked out most of them. But when I heard that the University of Memphis had such a strong partnership with St. Jude, I knew I was interested. And this brings us to our first survival tip. Know when to fan the fire. The wind will blow several different ways, but the direction that piques your interest and allows you to create even the smallest of sparks is the key to starting a fire. In here. My poor parents took me on 52 college visits to find that spark, and what do you know? It was right down the street. Sorry, Mom and Dad. By my junior year of college, I was leading the St. Jude organization that had simply piqued my interest when I toured the U of M. I didn't know it would lead to my future as a fundraiser, a job transfer to New York City, or getting my master's degree in nonprofit management, but I knew I would enjoy finding out. Next, it's time to talk about a basic survival skill, building your shelter. One of your top priorities in the next stage of life will be moving into a place that keeps you safe, warm, and at peace. And right now, each of you have that, whether it's in the St. Mary's community or at home. Mine was my childhood bedroom, which I painted the brightest of pinks and the most hideous of greens. Again, sorry, Mom and Dad. But I have learned that when you get into the real world, the space that you create for yourself matters. Whether it's a dorm room, a first apartment, or a new home, it's up to you to make it yours. Have fun with this and surround yourself with things that make you feel both grounded and inspired. Now, there will be wildlife all around, like your neighbors, your doorman, your roommate. And in the wilderness, how you approach wildlife determines if you can share a space peacefully. In life, I have found that it's much the same. A first impression sets the tone for every interaction that follows. Enter new spaces with calm, respect, and openness, and people usually respond in kind. Kindness is not only how we coexist, but how we turn encounters into connections, such as the random roommates from that tiny apartment that turned into such great friends that they flew with me to Paris to celebrate my birthday. Or a former coworker who became such a close friend I stood beside her as her maid of honor. Or even the owner of the laundry shop on my street who apparently knows me and my schedule well enough to yell out, "Melissa, you're running late to work," which I already know. A good shelter and the community around it is more than four walls. It reflects who you are and it gives you a space to rest, recharge, and honor your preferences. Mine is now my Upper East Side apartment, which I also painted a more subtle pink and green. Every good survival guide warns about dangers, not because you'll meet them every day, but because when you do, recognizing the signs matters. Hazards in the real world can take form in unhealthy relationships, stress, or the temptation to shrink yourself in order to fit in. And the tip here is very simple. Trust yourself enough to see the warning signs and be strong enough to act before the danger closes in. I haven't always done this. I have found it very hard to be vulnerable when I felt lesser than. When I started opening up about my hardships, I realized I have lifelines in place, an emergency preparedness plan, if you will. Your lifelines will be your friends and your family, and they will recognize your signals for help when you let them in enough to do so. My lifelines have helped me move after a bad breakup, leave a job I loved for more opportunity, and most importantly, made me feel not so alone in a city of millions. Even though we live far apart, my parents and I speak every single day, which may be second only to the hours my best friend Lauren and I spend calling each other, crying, laughing about the silliest of things. I have found an immense amount of comfort in maintaining my St. Mary's lifelines, as my classmates are the ones who have known me the longest, understand where I came from, and share that same drive to be their best. In all my travels, I have never met anyone who has had a similar schooling experience as us, or a turkey as a mascot. And so while it's great and encouraged to make new friends, your St. Mary's classmates will be the ones who truly understand and see you for you. They'll help when you face dangers and storms, and they'll also celebrate your victories and when the skies are blue. My work is deeply meaningful to me. While I'm not a researcher or a clinician, I know that everything that I do contributes to ending cancer for life. I believe in a world without cancer, and my job is to inspire donors to believe and fund that goal too. To do that, I build extremely personal relationships, often walking with families facing cancer through their hardest and best days. I need to be trustworthy, well-studied, likable, empathetic, and inspirational. I've had donors yell, curse, invite me into their homes, somehow think to save a seat for me at their own son's wake, and call me mere minutes after a loved one passed to ask how they can do more to end this awful disease. Through my work, I've learned a lot about relationships, so it's fitting that my last survival tip is about the most important one. The longest, most exciting, challenging, and significant relationship of all is the one that you have with yourself. In the wilderness and in the real world, you have to practice self-reliance. Situations and seasons of life will change, but the voice inside will never leave. You have to be your own companion, first responder, and your own navigator. There have been times when I was instead my own worst enemy. I've lost confidence in my path, compared myself to others, and let my desire for perfection overlook all of my progress. What I found that helps during those moments of self-doubt is turning back to things that I know previously brought me joy. I played volleyball here at St. Mary's. I play in an adult volleyball league now. I loved picking out my outfits for school, with poor uniforms, and I now love trying out new trends as well. English was one of my favorite classes, and now I aim to finish a book a week. These are some of my happy places where I most like myself. You have them too, so don't forget to pack them as you take on the world. And that's that, my fellow turkeys. These are the lessons that have helped me on my journey. It's true, the real world won't require you to know how to survive in the wilderness, but it will test how you orient yourself and find your way in unfamiliar environments. It will ask you to discover your passions, create spaces you love, trust your instincts and your support system, and above all, rely on yourself. You already carry the tools you need to face anything from what you've learned here at St. Mary's, but remember, the goal isn't to just get through each day, it's to shape a life that is truly your own. That will be both your story and your legacy. And if my own path has taught me anything, it's that the future you create may surprise you. Discovering what I want and where I want to be has been and will continue to be a true treat, like the perfect dollar slice of pizza after a long night. You know, classic New York. Thank you.